You may not have realized, but fall is actually a perfect time for produce. Plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables, just ripe for the picking. And that is something this morning's Chef on a Shoestring knows a whole lot about. Mike Price is the executive chef and co-owner of Market Table Restaurant here in New York, famous for its open kitchen and its fresh ingredients. Your challenge today is to create, of course, a 3-course meal for 4 on a budget of $40.
Yep.
So you've got a little something for us here. We should mention, too, that you were just this week in the New York Times, a 2-star rating, which is pretty darn good.
Very, very exciting.
So I'm very excited to try all of everything on our menu, which was actually mentioned in the article. And we're going to start off with a grilled Caesar salad. I've never heard of this.
Grilled Caesar salad. We're gonna make a Caesar salad dressing just like we normally would. We're gonna do. We got a little egg yolks and Dijon mustard in the Roboku. If you want to add some red wine vinegar.
Red wine vinegar.
We got a little chopped garlic.
Some garlic. My dad would say you could never have too much garlic.
Never enough garlic. A little lemon juice.
Lemon juice. And then I noticed the anchovies here. For some people, that's they're gonna shy away. I'm putting them in.
Put them in. It's classically a Caesar salad dressing has anchovies in it. It's not going to kill anybody if there's no anchovies. So if you don't like anchovies, just simply omit it from the recipe.
So you can do it without. And then this is very fancy.
Yeah.
So as I do this, the raw eggs that are in here too, I know that's a concern for some people. If you omit them, can you still have a good Caesar dressing?
It's going to be a little bit harder to emulsify the dressing. You know, especially if you're pregnant or something like that. I try to stay away from the raw eggs. Right. But normally, it's not a big concern.
Okay. We have a blend of oils here.
Blend of oil, and what we're going to do is slowly add that while the machine is running.
Okay.
And that will make a nice emulsified, creamy Caesar salad dressing, just like what we have here.
Okay. So we'll see. We got the finished product there. And then this, I love the look of this. So you just basically chop that romaine heart in half.
Cut the romaine in half. We leave the heart inside, and we just brush it with the Caesar salad dressing. Try and get it in all the nooks and crannies. And then right on a hot smoking grill.
And so this is great too for people who, especially here in New York City, I don't have a grill, obviously, but I do have a stove, and so you can just get kind of like a griddle grill, and this will work just as well.
Work just fine. You can also use the griddle pans, the pans that have the lines inside, will work just as well.
Okay, so we're starting off with our grilled. Ooh, this looks great. So as I dive into this to check it out, next steak. This is actually a sangria marinated steak.
It's a hanger steak marinated in sangria, so it's got red wine, it's got chopped up lemons, oranges. The lemons and oranges, when you cut them, really release a lot of the oil, which adds a lot of flavor to the steak.
And hanger steak, I know sometimes people may think of it, oh, you know, it's kind of a tough cut of meat, but this can really help tenderize it, this marinade.
This helps tenderize it. It's really flavorful. It's located between the kidneys and the back of the cow. There's only one per cow. It's also called the butcher's cut. Really, really great cut of steak, and relatively less expensive than a New York strip or a Delmonico.
Which is perfect, especially during these economic times. So we throw this on the grill. How long does this generally need to cook for?
You're talking about usually about 4 or 5 minutes on each side, and about 3 or 4 minutes to let it rest. If you let it rest, it really makes it that nice medium rare, so all the nice juice doesn't seep out afterwards.
Is the best way to check it too to use a meat thermometer rather than cutting into it to see, because you're sort of interrupting that process, I would guess, at the end if you actually stick the knife in?
Yeah, it's much better to use a meat thermometer, or really it's by touch. If it's really firm, it's more well done. If it's a little looser, it'll be more on the medium rare side.
Okay, so we are serving this. We'll let that cook a little bit longer as we're serving this with some great fall vegetables, including the rutabaga, which is by far the most fun vegetable to say.
Yes, by far, and maybe one of the biggest mispronounced names.
Somehow I'm not surprised, and probably I would imagine it's actually not used all that much because people don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, it looks like a big waxy turnip. I usually just dice it and roast it in the oven. A little garlic, little thyme. Really sweet flavor to it. When you roast stuff in the oven, especially root vegetables, really brings out the sweetness and flavor to it.
So in addition to the rutabaga here, I think you have some parsnips in here, some carrots as well.
And celery root, which is actually the bulb of the celery that grows underground, which is totally usable as far as the root vegetables go.
Is the celery root pretty easy to find? The other vegetables I know can be.
You know, most specialty or gourmet stores will have it. I'm pretty sure Whole Foods and places like that will have celery root.
Or maybe your farmer's market.
Your local farmer's market would certainly have it, especially if it's that time of year.
So so you've tossed these, as you mentioned, with a little thyme. I think you said salt and pepper, a little olive oil. Bake them in the oven for...
You know, about 20 minutes or so, until they're nice and tender.
And then you're tossing it with raw spinach.
Raw spinach, because these vegetables are warm and they'll actually kind of wilt the spinach. You don't need to cook the spinach and add it to it. The heat from the vegetables, you know, spinach is relatively light, so it'll wilt them.
And it's nice too because it adds such beautiful color between the carrots and the spinach. So we'll take this.
It adds a little leafy green taste to it.
With the steak, and I know there's actually a proper way to cut hanger steak, or so I've been told.
There is, and we'll go over that right now. really it's all about cutting against the grain of the steak. As you can see the lines in the steak that are running this way.
Yep.
So what you really want to do is cut against those grains. So you're cutting against the grain of the steak.
See, and I would have thought the opposite.
If you cut it with it, the steak ends up being really stringy and long, as opposed to this way, it ends up being you're cutting the grains, it becomes really nice and tender.
Nice pieces, looks beautiful on the plate. And then we're going to finish off this meal with Grammy's apple cake, and this is really from your Grammy.
Back in the late 50s and 60s, the electric company would pass out cookbooks, and my grandmother got this apple cake recipe from one of the old
Here come the vultures, by the way, just a warning.
Cookbooks.
Yeah.
I can see it.
And good to see you. How's it going?
Good.
And she brings it to every family function, whether it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, a baptism, it doesn't matter what it is.
And you now serve this at the restaurant.
I now serve this at the restaurant, and actually got mentioned. Really, really great apple cake.
And it was actually in the article in the Times. I bet your grandmother was happy about that.
Very, very excited. Very, very excited.
That is very.
Bree was very close to digging into the marinated
Right,
steak.
yeah, look at this one.
Not cooked yet.
It's like all right, while we all dig in, we need to see how you did with your challenge of the $40 budget. We're also going to bring in your wife Amy and your adorable 6-month-old daughter Olive, who I can eat up. She's delicious. Take a look at how we did real quickly on the $40 challenge. There's Olive as a candy corn for Halloween. For the salad, of course, the romaine, the parm, the croutons, the lemon juice. Everything else you need to go in that dressing, including the anchovies if you choose to put them in. Moving on to the second course, the steak, which Chris is enjoying. He's cleaned his plate now. The hanger steak, the red wine, lemon, orange, thyme, everything that's going into that sangria marinade. Also take a look at all the vegetables we have there. The root vegetables, the spinach, baked in the oven, of course, tossed with that fresh spinach. And finally, Grammy's apple cake, which I really feel bad for you. You can't eat it at home right now because it's delicious.
Grammy, nice job.
Everything that goes into Grammy's cake there. I just want to get the total here. Let's see how we did. $40, $39.01. Excellent.
Nicely done.
Oh, this is fantastic.
What else could I add?
Your menu's great, but Olive is the best part of this segment.
I think so. I think so.
Show stealer. So now, what do you like at home? What's your favorite?
I love it when Mikey makes mac and cheese.
We're pretty basic.
Olive likes that one too.
I'm sure she does. We're pretty basic.
Yeah, he makes all the food for her.
Great to have you all with us. Mike Price, best of luck.
Thank you so much.
If you're in New York, Market Table in the West Village, you should definitely check it out.